Kasper.
Hi, Casper.
Good to see you.
Well, thank you for the last time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine.
Appreciate that. But to those of you who didn't follow, we had a really interesting conversation, if we have to say it ourselves, about the data wars that's going on in companies right now.
Yeah. We talked about what the war is. We touched a little bit upon the potential solutions.
Yeah.
And I think after we stopped the recording, I think you had a great point that...
Yeah, we talked about like, so if we need to pin it down to like one thing that will end this data war, like what will it take? Because we have like marketing, we have IT, we have data analytics, we have business execs. It really all comes down to that someone needs to take responsibility for this, for this and for the solution.
Someone needs to own it.
Someone needs to own it.
Instead of just owning your own kingdom, you need to own it broadly.
Exactly. And that would probably mean that it has to be the business execs that need to take responsibility for this data ownership and alignment and integration, which I think is a really good point. And there are a lot of talks that will go from this because it's super interesting. And I think in the day and time and age we're in now, where AI is a hyper trend, business execs understands this because they start to see like what is the outcome of our projects.
So I'm going to stop you because I don't want to do the first episode, the previous episode again.
We're stopping it here. That's the perfect segue into today's topic.
So Adobe has recently released AI agents in CGA, Custom Journey Analytics. And I thought that would be an interesting topic, both to cover what is, the AI agents in Adobe.
Yep.
And maybe touch a bit upon AI in general.
Yep.
And I know that you are a grumpy old man when it comes to AI. So you're welcome.
That's the perfect teaser.
But let's maybe start with me introducing what the AI agents are in Adobe.
What are they?
So they announced at Summit that they have multiple AI agents coming out. They range broadly from a concierge, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, into an analyst. And more than that, it's just not just those two, but those I think are the interesting ones. The thing is that they are only going to be enabled if you have data on Adobe Experience Platform.
Yeah.
So it's primarily AGO, CGA, and I guess there's going to be one for real-time CDP as well.
Okay.
But they just released the one in CGA, and the interesting part is that it can actually, create reports for you, analyze data, and as a non-grumpy old man, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
From the perspective that I think the biggest challenge that companies have with the Adobe solutions is that as a non-specialist logging in, it's difficult for me to find the relevant reports. What's the dimension called? What's the metrics I need to look at?
So it's an enabler.
It's an enabler
for a tool that you
exactly
own. Yeah.
And I think if you can democratize that people can log in and find the reports themselves, I think that's going to be moving the business.
Yeah.
Because right now, for the majority, that I see, it's certain people or a certain team that is doing this for the broad organization. So if we can enable the rest of the organization to actually go and do this, I think that's gonna be a game changer.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree. For once.
Cool.
I think it's very interesting, and I saw some of the Adobe launches, and it looks really good and intuitive.
Yeah.
So what do you think will be, like you mentioned, like finding reports, but what do you think will be the biggest upside for businesses or for users using these things in terms of the business outcome?
So as I said, I think the democratization of using Adobe and the data in there is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
But I actually have more concerns about whether one, people will trust the data that it finds. And if you don't trust the data, you're not going to be sharing it or using it. So it puts, secondly, it puts a lot of pressure on making sure that you have fantastic data quality in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest issues with the clients that we work with.
Yeah.
There's a lack of governance or proper governance for making sure that, the data quality is top notch and that the people in the company trust the data.
Yeah. And it's two major topics.
Right? It could be two separate episodes talking about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's interesting how AI is coming into our workflows and I don't think it's going to be, in this scenario, it's not going to be taking our jobs.
No.
But it's going to be an enabler and a tool to use to be more efficient.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it does require that people, first of all, trust the data.
Yeah.
And I think the issue I see is that a lot of people in organizations don't trust the data today, even without the AI functionality.
Yeah.
They don't trust the data today.
Yeah. You're right.
So I think that's from an organization perspective, that's a first step. And then you can start having people be introduced to the agents and rolling it out in the organization so that they can start, be enabled in using it.
Yeah. I saw a quote on LinkedIn saying, hey, I don't want my AI to do my art and my writing so I can do dishes and laundry. I want my AI to do dishes and laundry so I can do my art and writing.
Yeah.
And this is essentially like the first step into that, because
Absolutely.
It's like, I need to be careful with my words, a somewhat tedious challenge that's being solved here.
Yeah.
That I don't have to use my time, go look for things, but it kind of pops up when I ask for it and where I need it.
Yeah. So and that reminds me, and I don't want to get started because that's a pet peeve for me, but there's reports that companies do in it, in our case Adobe Analytics or CJ.
Yeah.
And then there's analysis that you can do, but majority of them maybe thinks they're doing analysis, but they actually end up doing reporting.
Yeah.
And I think the AI agent should be doing your reporting so you can do the analysis.
Exactly.
Right? Because it's the analysis that moves the business
That's
forward.
the art. Yeah.
That's the art, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. Thank you.
The analysis. I need a T-shirt with that. Analysis is the art.
It's the art. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy it on our website. No. We'll figure that out along the way. But I think it's super interesting. And now you call me the grumpy old man in AI.
Yeah. So let me hear why you're grumpy.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not grumpy. Like, I love AI. I think AI is one of like, it's a hyper trend, obviously, that puts a lot of companies at challenge. But I think it's also a solution to so many things. Because I think it can actually do our dishes and our laundry in many cases. So when we talk about workflows, like the case you just presented here, it's genius. And that's the somewhat easy way of going into AI, because it improves our daily work and it does so much for us. We need to find the fine line between these, because we also, like, human beings are lazy. So we see, like, can we get this to do everything we want?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, have you seen the movie Click with Adam Sandler? So he figures out he can fast forward all the boring things, and suddenly his life is gone, right? Yeah. I see it exactly in the same way, which is the grumpy part of this, that we shouldn't do that, but I love the workflow, so we could get away from the things that's work about work.
Yeah.
Where I'm a bit suspicious and a bit grumpy is exactly to the point of data quality that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So for most businesses, workflow can improve a lot of things in the siloed teams and how we do things across. But where AI is really interesting to businesses is how can we use our business intelligence to perform better? How can we use our internal data to set ourselves up for business success? And this is where I think a lot of companies are peeing their own pants, to be very frank. And this makes me very angry, because we talk about hyper trends and we've seen this forever. Then it's big data, then it's like the next big thing. Now it's AI. But the average company is operating, when we talk about data from go-to-market, on 50% data accuracy. So actually at an Adobe event, I heard this, like, every CEO want to be in the hot tub, but no one is questioning the water going into the hot tub. Okay. What is the piping feeding this?
Yeah.
So we are very quick when we want all these things. We just saw MIT in a report saying 95% of all AI projects die in pilot stage. Then Gartner followed up saying, hey, 60% of this is due to bad data quality. So that means a topic that we've been deprioritizing for so many years is now the front and center of our business success. 70% of all AI projects are in sales and marketing. So this is the front and center of what we do. So when we talk about improving workflows, that's great. When we talk about business value, that's super great, but it's not great on the current foundation that most companies are in. And that's where I get grumpy, because we want to get the results without putting in the work. That's a massive challenge.
I think you have, you're entitled to be a grumpy old man when you come to that, right?
You see more potential.
Yeah, more potential. And I think some of the agents or the AI that Adobe has developed as well has been, I can't remember the name for it, but there's one for AAP as well that allows to to help specify, which of my schemas are unused, how many schemas do I have unused. So I think there's a potential of, let me start somewhere else. I think the cleanup and quality is missing because it's too big a task for the one-man band who owns that.
Yeah.
So I think the AI agents can help, make that one-man band be more efficient.
Yeah.
But I think there's a process and workflow that needs to be changed to ensure that you start benefiting from it. Right? Mm-hmm. So me putting this on the agenda for our topic today is just as much, start embracing it and use it efficiently to make better data quality.
Yeah.
Right? So let's all have a testament to make sure that you're not a grumpy old man.
Can you say to the camera?
Yeah.
Casper is not a grumpy old man.
Casper is a grumpy old man, and we need you guys to help support not making Casper an old grumpy man.
It's up to you.
We need to come up with a fantastic hashtag of freeing Casper.
Exactly. But I think this comes back to also, not freeing me, free with Willie, but it's like Sold Out of Not Giving a Fuck, which was the coffee table book for ages. It's a great book, but he talks about like, hey, I want to become, talking about a one-man band, I want to become the best guitarist in the world. I want to tour the world. I want to play all the big stages.
I have no idea who the guy is, but it sounds fantastic.
But then it comes down to, hey, but I have to make a decision. Because I have this dream and it's great, but am I willing to put in the 10,000 hours it takes to become the guitarist that will put me on a world tour?
Mm-hmm.
And for most people, privately and as well as professionally, many of the cases that we dream about is not something that we are going to achieve because we don't want to put in the effort that it takes to go there.
Yeah.
I kind of see the same with internal AI in many cases. So we want to have all the outcomes. As execs, we want to have the perfect AI. We want to push a few buttons and it tells us what to do.
Yeah.
But as soon as we need to prioritize data quality, data governance, then we're kind of like, that's too hard. So many I think that's the point where 95% of projects close down, because we see those who are able to raise their data quality from the 50% average, 60%, up to 90+% average, are starting to succeed in these projects.
Yeah.
You see companies like Qualcomm, who has AI as the front and center core of their strategy. How are we going to beat our competition? We're going to be great at data, so we can activate AI that will make us work smarter.
Yeah, but I guess that's also because that priority hasn't happened over many years.
No.
Right? So, I mean, you're talking AI in general, and, if I'm just looking at data quality from an analytics perspective, we have clients coming in where there's been no cleanup or governance around the current setup. And especially for clients who's migrating from Adobe Analytics to CGA, they don't trust the data in Adobe Analytics. So our recommendations, don't do a one-to-one migration. Let's clean up and make sure you have, we start the process.
So the quality, right? Clean oil on the machine.
Yeah, and that's just from an analytics perspective. But I think that that's a tough word. neglected. It's been neglected.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. Yeah.
Not just from analytics
That was great.
yeah, thanks. But it's been neglected in many aspects.
Yeah.
In an organization with data. Right?
Absolutely.
Which is making it difficult for the general AI projects.
Yeah.
As well of trusting, vendors who's implementing AI into it, and especially a vendor like Adobe, where the foundation is data.
Yeah.
Right.
But how do you see this? So, like Adobe, there will be a lot of the data analytics teams and marketing people looking into this and looking like, we look at the data, we look how to use it, create user journeys, all these things.
Yeah.
But how do we get the decision makers, the execs, to, like, how do we bridge this gap where they start trusting the data, where they start doing these things, because that will, I guess, essentially allow us to use Adobe AI agents.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be AI agents that are less depending on data. So for AGO, you can have a template created, right? So it's not that all agents are going to be, having that same need for foundation, right?
No.
But I think for bringing it on the agenda, I think sometimes the executives of the C-levels don't have the insights.
No.
Right? And I guess it's also to a degree because it hasn't been on the agenda for the teams who's owning the solutions, the Adobe Analytics, the CJ solutions.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of putting it on their own agenda, of making sure that my output and my business value in this organization is to deliver high quality data that can be trusted by the organization, right?
Yeah.
So it's to some degree it's about putting what's my place in the world in this organization?
Mm-hmm.
What's my purpose?
Yeah.
My deeper purpose is of making sure that data is of high quality.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks into a different aspect of there is sometimes a lack of investment in those teams. So you end up being I mentioned a one-man band before, but it might be a.
So you're talking from executive side that they don't put enough money into having the analytics teams.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So I don't think they fully understand the width of tasks that they have. Right. So it's going to be difficult to prioritize it, and I think it's also difficult. If I'm putting an investment in making sure there's high data quality, which is typically a technical task.
Yeah.
Right. It's difficult to measure the output from, I spend so much money on making sure data quality is high, but there's not like an actual output.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's I have a good governance, but how do I visualize and show that whatever I put in, as a cost on this, that the business value is high, right? And the actual business value is that more people will trust the data, and potentially more people, especially with the AI agents, will use the data and trust it.
Yeah.
But that's difficult to put on a slideshow, right?
It's very difficult. But do you think, because this is something that we see within data analytics and like the language that's being spoken here, is there a responsibility from data analytics side to communicate in a different language that is more the business language or the exec language, instead of expecting execs and decision makers to understand the data analytics language, also when it comes to AI and the use of the output of this?
That's a great question. Not necessarily, but I guess to some degree, and I guess it comes down to who owns analytics. Sometimes it's an IT project, sometimes it's the marketing who owns it. If it's an IT project, the language can be different than the business language.
Yes.
But that's not, it's maybe the split is 50-50, where that lives.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a general rule of fixing it. I think the issue is that there's not been an ownership of ensuring, analytics has been seen as a deploy and forget type of project, right? We have it implemented, we get the data, but the website has changed over time, but maybe, the data that you're collecting hasn't been reviewed, or so it's just a project that's been forgotten somehow, right?
Yeah.
Obviously you enable and disable some dimensions and you add new data points, but there's never, it's very rarely that we have clients that have a proper governance and they've cleaned it up.
Yeah. That's a good point. So summing up what we're talking about with AI here, there's kind of two setups for this. There's kind of the workflow thing, which these agents are created to do. So it's
and
easier.
an enabler as well, right?
So it enables your work and enables to report in the data that you have.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we have AI as a business tool where we can take all the intelligence we have in our business and activate it as we might see fit. The challenge for both is essentially data quality.
Yeah.
To make sure that the data is trusted and that the projects end up coming out of the pilot stage.
Yeah.
So it actually has business effects. Into this, the last thing you talked about, we talked about, is like we need to be able to make sure that the users can communicate the outcomes in a language that the execs and the decision makers and essentially those paying the bills will understand into the business.
Yeah.
With that,
I think
makes sense.
I was just saying that's a great summary. Yeah.
That's perfect. I think I have one question that I want to ask you before ending this. Is like from consultancy side, what is the most important thing that you see in moving this forward, in getting these agents to work?
So I think, getting the agents to work. I think for Adobe in general, there's a lot of agents that can enable you and make you more efficient without relying on a data, quality foundation or the data foundation with high quality. But I think when we talk about, especially the field that we're in, when we talk about having an agent that creates reports or doing analysis for you, I think there needs to be a process documented where whoever owns that data can document to the business that here is why we see a drop in data, and here's the process for how we validate data, and making sure that when we push something live, here's the process that we've secured that the data quality is high, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's also the aspect of having to be proactive, right? So whoever owns that data needs to be proactive. So if there's a drop in data, we need to communicate why there's a drop in data before the business starts asking the question.
So we need to know and be...
We need to know upfront. Right?
Yeah.
And I think in that case, there needs to be a process to ensure that happens. There's a lot of built-in functionality in Adobe solutions that does that. You can get third-party solutions that monitors and flags it for you. So I think there needs to be somebody who takes the ownership of making sure that it's my job that the company has great data quality. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And with that, I think before I leave you, actually, do you know?
Before you leave me.
Before I leave you, if you leave me, no. Before we leave the audience with this, I want to ask you one question. Do you know
That's
why?
the second question.
Yeah, but that's how I do it. As a good interviewer, that's like how you do it. Do you know why boxers do not make love the night before an important fight?
No.
Because they don't really like each other that much.